Alex Jones, the most banned man in America, has a brand new book out called The Great Reset and the War for the World, which surprisingly hasn't been banned from Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Instead, everyone is just pretending that the book doesn't exist, and the New York Times is censoring it from their bestseller list. In the publishing world, there's a company called BookScan, which is owned in part by the Nielsen Company. You're probably familiar with the Nielsen television ratings, so they also track the sales of books, and all bestseller lists use the BookScan list to determine which books should be on the bestseller list any given week. And according to the BookScan figures, again, the industry standard, this book should have been up at the top of the New York Times bestseller list because, well, it sold more copies than anyone else during the first week once it was released. The Great Reset, if you're not familiar with it, is basically the globalists' plan to use the COVID lockdowns to finalize the socialist New World Order under the disguise of an economic recovery plan. It involves so much more, like implementing the surveillance state, like something out of Orwell's 1984 or the old 90s movie Demolition Man starring Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, a cashless society, and promoting transhumanism as the new global Luciferian religion, promising people supposed eternal life if they'll just plug into the Matrix. Now, Alex's book made it out to other bestseller lists in the industry, like the USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, Publisher Weekly, but it's mysteriously missing from the supposed most prestigious bestseller list in the country over at the New York Times. Because it's not a bestseller list, it's a manually curated list. Often it's just an editor's choice list or a recommended reading list. And they certainly don't want to recommend that people read Alex's book or especially award him with the prestigious title of a New York Times bestseller. Now, this is not new. The New York Times has done this many times before for many years. Earlier this year, they kept a book about George Soros off the top 10 list, The Man Behind the Curtain, Inside the Secret Network of George Soros by Matt Palumbo. They've done this to Ted Cruz, to Bill O'Reilly, to Janine Pirro, another Fox News host who had a book come out at the same time as Stormy Daniels. Remember that floozy? She had a book come out that sold just a few thousand copies, but of course the New York Times put her on the bestseller list. In 2019, when Jim Acosta tried to cash in on his Trump-hating book, he didn't even break the top 50 on the Amazon bestseller list, which is an authentic algorithm-driven sales rank, and dropped off the Amazon top 100 after just 2 days. But of course, he was inserted artificially into the New York Times bestseller list as well.
Hey Jim, how come your book didn't make it above the top 50 on Amazon's bestseller list? It fell off the Amazon top 100 list after 2 days. So.
How does it feel to live in your mother's basement?
Actually, I make my videos in my kitchen, which get about a third of the views of your mainstream shows.
Your mother's kitchen?
No, it's my kitchen, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where
I get a third of the viewers of Anderson Cooper, and I'm just a guy on a laptop.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, sure.
I don't think that BookScan tracks the sales of my books because I self-publish them in the way that they're distributed. If not, they would have made it to the top, maybe not #1 spot, but they would have definitely made it into the top 3 of the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today bestsellers, and the New York Times, of course, if they weren't so dishonest. You may recall, and please forgive the humble brag, but when my book, Hollywood Propaganda, How TV, Movies, and Music Shape Our Culture, came out in October 2020, it made it up to #3 on the Amazon bestseller list of all books, which again is an authentic algorithm-driven sales rank. And the only reason I wrote that book is because my previous book, The Liberal Media Industrial Complex, which came out a year earlier, only made it up to #2. And I was so pissed that I wanted to make it to #1, so I wrote another book, but still didn't do it. So I'm going to give it one more shot, not at the end of this year. I'm working on another book, but I'm going to take my time. As you'll know, they're polished, they're extremely well documented, and thoroughly sourced. So I should have another one out by the end of next year. But until then, let's keep Alex Jones' book, The Great Reset, at the top of the bestseller lists. At least the ones that won't censor it. And I'm glad that I got a hard copy because the way things are going, this might be a collector's item someday. So I left a link to the Amazon listing in the description below, so click it and head on over there and check it out.